There is one defining moment for every baseball fan, a moment perfectly preserved and perfectly memorized. And for the fan, these moments can be recaptured in an instant.
To me, the most memorable moment was in the '54 World Series when I was at the Polo Grounds when Vic Wertz hit the fly ball that Willie Mays caught.
I was at Ebbets Field, Jackie Robinson's first day, and it was an incredible moment. Nobody plays the game like Jackie Robinson played.
Kirk Gibson hit the home run pinch hitting off Eckersley in the '88 World Series, first game when the Dodgers beat the A's.
What are you kidding me? Ball went through Bill Buckner's leg in the Game 6 of the 1986 World Series. Mets win it.
Little roller up along first, behind the bag. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight, and the Mets win it.
All-Star game where Carl Hubbell struck out the five eventual Hall of Famers.
Has to be Reggie's 3 home runs in the '77 series.
1974, when Hammer and Hank beat the Babe's record.
Nazarowski's home run in the bottom of the ninth to beat the Yankees in the World Series.
Bobby Thompson gets up and he hits one into the left field stands. The Giants win the pennant. You can remember on the radio broadcast, it's Russ Hodges. The Giants win the pennant. The Giants win the pennant.
Baseball's greatest moments, featuring 20 of the game's unforgettable events. Babe Ruth led the 1932 Yankees to an easy pennant. He was 37 years old, but that season hit 41 homers and figured there were more to come in the World Series.
I guess I'll see you in the World Series games then.
Well, I hope so. I guess I'm one of the lucky fellas to be able to get into 10 World Series. And the way I feel now, it looks like I'll be in there.
Well, hope you hit a lot of home runs.
Well, I won't predict anything, but I'll sure do my best. I hope all you boys will be out there watching it.
But legend has it that in Chicago's Wrigley Field for Game 3 of the World Series, Babe Ruth did make a prediction. The story goes that he came up in the 5th inning and called his home run.
With his bat in his left hand, he pointed to the fence with them 2 fingers, just like it's in the picture in the Cooperstown. And I got a mental picture of that ball going out of the ballpark.
This particular time at bat, he went up and he took first strike, and they got on him. Now he takes a second strike right down the middle. He don't even offer at it. So they're on him. He just holds up his hands. That's only 2 strikes.
Seems everyone had a different version of the famous called shot, including the Babe himself.
I'll never forget it. It was a tough series. Both clubs riding each other, doing everything to get each other's goal. Well, after this one particular time when I went to bat, Charlie Root was pitching. And the first pitch ball was a called strike. Well, I thought it was outside and didn't like it very much. So the boys over there would give me this, on you. Well, the second pitch ball was another called strike. Well, I didn't like that one either, so I let it go by. Well, I stepped out of the box, and by that time they were over there going crazy. Well, I looked out at center field and I pointed. I said, I'm going to hit the next pitch ball right past the flagpole. Well, the good Lord must have been with me.
The home run, a tremendous shot, was the Babe's second of the game, and it came in his last World Series, which the Yankees went on to sweep. That much is true and belongs in the book of baseball facts. The rest belongs in the book of baseball legends. Carl Hubbell's great moment came in the 1934 All-Star Game at his home park, New York's Polo Grounds. He was up against a murderous lineup and opposed by future Hall of Famer Lefty Gomez. and Hubble started off shaky.
First time I ever led off in the All-Star game, and I got a base hit. And I think Heine Manouche came up second and got a walk.
That brought to the plate a succession of the American League's most feared hitters of the day. Babe Ruth was up next, but Hubble was ready with his famous screwball.
What I was trying to do was to strike Ruth out. He's the only one I was really trying to strike out, because if I can strike him out, and then Gehrig, if I can keep that ball down low, the breaking ball down low, get him to hit the ball on the ground, I got a chance for a double play, and I can get out of the inning.
Carl Hubble, the great National League southpaw, the Giants in the box. Strike three, he's out.
With his screwball as baffling as ever, Hubble followed by striking out Lou Gehrig. A double steal went for naught because he ended the inning by fanning Jimmy Fox. But Hubble wasn't through. On his way to striking out 5 future Hall of Famers, all in a row, he took the mound the next inning and got Al Simmons. Then came the moment. Hubble threw, and Joe Cronin became victim number 5.
They were the great ones in the American League, and I'd say it's almost a miracle when you can do that.
The miracle moment of the Giants' King Carl Hubble. In the spring of 1938, Johnny Vandermeer, the Reds' promising but wild left-hander, got some pitching tips from Lefty Grove that paid off. In Crosley Field on June 11th against the Boston Bees, Vandermeer faced only 28 batters, and at the age of 23, pitched a no-hitter. His next turn came 4 days later in Ebbets Field, but not even Vandermeer could sense what was coming.
It was a first night game in New York, and everybody wanted to go to that game. And then also the fact that you're playing in Brooklyn, and they'll let you know before you even throw the first pitch over there that we're going to get you. But one of the things that came up that night was MacPhail kept selling tickets, and he didn't stop. And the fire department came in because he had them sitting in the aisles and you name it. I got up to warm up 3 times, and I had to sit down 3 times. So we really didn't get started that ball game that night till about 9 o'clock. So there was a lot of things that went different in that second game to put a lot of heat on me. I didn't go for a no-hitter in either ball game till the last inning. Then I went for it, and I would give them everything I had, and no let-ups, no changes, nothing cheap. If I was going to get beat, I was going to get beat on my strength.
Though he lacked pinpoint control and walked 8, Vandermeer was again remarkable. And in beating the Dodgers 6-0, had his second consecutive no-hitter, a feat that has never been duplicated, and some say never will. Lou Gehrig's endurance is legendary, but his greatest contributions to the Yankees came at the plate. He produced a lifetime average of .340, the 3rd most RBIs of all time, and a host of brilliant World Series performances. Long after he was gone, Gehrig still towered over his peers.
Now that it's all over, and I look at the record book myself, I find that no matter what I did, no matter how I compare my runs batted in and my accomplishments as a long ball hitter, Gehrig has always done it better. So Gehrig's record is phenomenal.
Playing in a record 2,130 consecutive games, Gehrig didn't miss a game for 14 years. Then on May 2nd, 1939, he took himself out of the lineup.
Art Fletcher came up to me and he said, "Babe, you're playing first base today." I said, "Are you kidding?" He said, "No, you're the first baseman." And just before the game started, Lou, being the captain of the ball club, walked down to the umpire Basil at home plate, and he handed him the lineup. And he came back to the bench, and he walked right past us to the drinking fountain. and he reached over to get a drink, and he stayed down a long time. And Johnny Murphy took one of the clean towels. Johnny Murphy was our relief pitcher, one of them, and he threw the towel, landed right on Lou's head. And he just stayed down, and finally he stood up, and he was wiping the tears off his eyes. He cried, he broke down.
2 months later, Yankee Stadium was packed for Lou Gehrig Day. Teammates from the 1927 Yankees turned out, many unaware that Gehrig was dying.
Because of what has happened since, we know what happened to Lou. We realize how important it was. But at that time, we didn't know. We did not know that Lou Gehrig was dying of an incurable disease. It was unheard of. Everybody knows what a great ball player he was, but I'm glad that I had personal experience with the fact that he was a very wonderful human being.
The more than 61,000 who came out on July 4th for one last look at Gehrig sat through a parade of speeches and gift-giving. And then, in one of the game's saddest moments, heard from the man himself.
For the past 2 weeks, you've been reading about a bad Greg. Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth. When you look around, wouldn't you consider it privilege to associate yourself with such a fine-looking man as is standing in uniform in this ballpark today? That I might have been given a bad break, but I've got an awful lot to live for. Thank you.
He continually said during that speech how lucky he was, and how wonderful and great it was, and how lucky he was to be with a team of wonderful guys. And that's all he kept repeating, all the nice things, but he never did say very much about himself. He didn't feel sorry about himself, and it certainly was a very, very sad day for all of us to see him there, right there at that microphone, because we remembered of all the wonderful things that he did for the team.
Lou Gehrig died 2 years later at the age of 37. In 1941, Joe DiMaggio would hit .357 and win his second MVP. But that, of course, is a small part of the story. That season, he would be glorified as no ball player since Babe Ruth. On May 15th at Yankee Stadium, DiMaggio singled against the White Sox and thus modestly launched one of the game's greatest accomplishments.
There's a fellow by the name of Edgar Smith of the White Sox. I got a base hit. Didn't mean very much, but that started me off in my streak.
DiMaggio was utterly dependable. For the next 2 months, he got at least one hit a day, along the way shattering team records, club records, and finally breaking the ancient Major League record of hitting in 44 straight games set by Wee Willie Keeler.
It certainly was something that I was quite proud of, and I was very happy to continue on, because not only did my streak continue, but we went on to go on a winning streak.
The Yankees moved into first place, and Joltin' Joe's hits kept on coming. Overwhelming as the whole thing may have been, DiMaggio was somewhat prepared.
You know, it wasn't as though I had not hit in some consecutive games before that, because it was 1933 in Pacific Coast League that I hit in 61. So I had some experience in feeling the pressure, so I thought I was doing pretty good as it was, no matter how far that streak went.
This streak climbed to a record 56 games. But on July 17th, Cleveland Indians third baseman Ken Keltner provided the defense for which he was well known.
Made 2 real good plays against him, which would have been base hits. Unfortunately, the ball got in my glove. I got it out and threw him out at first base by an eyelash.
And so Joe DiMaggio was stopped. Remarkably enough, he hit safely in his next 17 games as the Yankees glided to a pennant. but those are merely footnotes to a streak that stands as one of the game's untouchable achievements. The arrival of Jackie Robinson to the Brooklyn Dodgers in 1947 changed the course of baseball history. A star at UCLA and then in the Negro Leagues, Robinson signed a minor league contract with the Dodgers, and a year later, Dodger president Branch Rickey brought him to the majors. The move was approved by Commissioner Happy Chandler as he lifted a band that had been maintained by his predecessor, Kennesaw Mountain Landis.
For 24 years, Landis wouldn't let him play. 24 years. If you're black, you're automatically disqualified. And when they last appealed to him, he was adamant. He said, everything's been said about this, it's going to be said. Of course, I made the Jackie Robinson decision. Hell, if it hadn't been for me, he wouldn't have played. In 1947, at a meeting at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in New York, and I presided over the meeting, the owners anticipated that Rickey might want to bring Robinson from Montreal to Brooklyn, so they debated and discussed for 2 hours the Jackie Robinson situation expressly. And then they took a vote. They voted 15-1 not to let him play. As soon as that meeting was over, Rickey called me, and I said to him simply after we discussed it, I'm going to have to meet my maker someday. And if he asked me why I didn't let this boy play, and I say it's because he's black, it might not be a satisfactory answer.
In breaking baseball's color barrier, Robinson endured unending insults, even from his own teammates.
They had a petition out that they weren't going to play with him, and I said, he's going to play in this club, and you better wake up, boys, because he's only the first of many to follow.
The historic moment came on April 15th at Ebbets Field against the Braves' Johnny Sain. In that game, Robinson sparked the Dodgers on a comeback and then went on to win Rookie of the Year. For the next decade, he proved to be an awesome talent, though to many, Robinson's greatest contributions came not from his numbers, but from his courage. '51 was a miracle season for the New York Giants. They wiped out an incredible 13.5 game deficit, winning 37 of their last 44 games, including 16 in a row. And on the final day of the season, caught the Brooklyn Dodgers at last.
Leo just kept egging us on. Never would say, let's win the pennant. He always said, let's see how close we can come. So that's the only way we did it. We're really dedicated.
The Giants and Dodgers split the first 2 games of the best-out-of-3 playoff. And on October 3rd, the season came down to one last chance at the Polo Grounds. The game was deadlocked until the Dodgers went ahead and took a 4-1 lead into the bottom of the 9th. The Giants came back with a run. But New York was still down by 2 when the Dodgers took out Don Newcomb and brought in Ralph Branca. With 2 runners on and 1 out, Branca's first batter was Bobby Thompson. The first pitch was a called strike, and then with expectation hanging in the air, the 0-1 delivery.
Bobby Thompson up there swinging. Branca throws. There's a walk back. A safety, I believe. The Giants win the pennant. 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 Bobby Thompson hits into the vortex of the left field lane. The Giants win the pennant, and they're going crazy. They're going crazy.
I was shocked. I never expected it. I went into shock. I didn't know what happened. I didn't know where I was at. I couldn't believe it. And I wanted to shake hands with him and couldn't because Stanky had me on the ground, kissing me, saying, we did it, we did it. I know, Eddie. Let me shake hands with him. Never shook hands with him until I got in the clubhouse.
When I saw the ball go in the stands, I thought, this game can't be over. We've got to have another chance. It was by far the saddest moment I had in baseball. And I can remember Ralph Branca lying on the steps there in the Polo Grounds, and He just wanted through the home run pitch. And he had tears in his eyes, which a lot of the other ball players did too.
I'm part of baseball history. If you could run it back and let's do a retake, you know, I would try to get him out and hopefully would.
I can say this, at the time I made that swing and lucky enough to hit the ball out of the park and we won. I never thought they'd be talking about it years later.
But the story of Thompson's home run will be told forever. As Carl Hubbell said, we won't live long enough to see anything like it again. The Polo Grounds was a site of an unforgettable moment in the 1954 World Series between the Indians and Giants. Willie Mays was about to send shockwaves through the Polo Grounds. It's the 8th inning of Game 1. The score is tied, the Indians have 2 runners on, and Vic Wertz up at the plate.
I didn't think I was going to miss the ball. My mind is that I was worried, how was I going to get the ball back into the infield? That's the only thing I was thinking about. And you'll see me stop. I don't even stop. I just stop and turn around and start throwing. Now, when I hit the ground on the other side, the ball was halfway in the infield. Now, if I miss that ball, that means it might have been an inside park home run. 2 runs are in. We're down 3-1 or 3-0 or whatever. I think that was a turning point of the game.
And the turning point of the series as the underdog Giants went on to sweep the Indians. On October 8, 1956, Yankee Stadium was filled with more than 64,000 fans for Game 5 of the World Series between the Dodgers and Yankees. The Yankees scored 2 runs, but every Dodger batter was turned away empty. Don Larsen was working on the first perfect game in World Series history, and in the 9th was set to face pinch hitter Dale Mitchell. Larsen needed 1 more out.
There was one thought going through my mind. He's a fastball hitter. He likes them up. Pitch him low and away. Concentrate. Concentrate. The count was coming to 1 and 2, and I could feel the tenseness building up. No one said anything. No one on the field or on the bench talked about a no-hitter. They were too superstitious.
Everybody sat in their same seats. Nobody moved. Larsen would walk in. We wouldn't even talk to him. And he sat in his favorite seat where he was sitting during the game, and turned out to be a game that I'll never forget seeing, pitching a perfect game.
Guys on the team were praying the ball wouldn't be hit to them. They were afraid they'd make an error. I don't think I ever felt more alone in my life.
Mitchell waiting, stands deep, feet close together. Larsen is ready, gets the sign. 2 strikes, ball 1. Here comes the pitch. Strike 3. A no-hitter, a perfect game for Don Larsen.
When he called that last strike, that was terrific. You never saw a happier guy. You saw how he jumped on Don Larsen. He carried me off like I was a little baby. Well, what he was a pretty big guy.
And I don't think anybody wanted to see a ball hit at him, or even myself back to me. And I was so thankful when Dale half swung at that ball in the last minute. Pinelli said strike 3. That was super. What a feeling.
The Yankees went on to win the World Series, sparked by Don Larsen's moment of perfection that still stands alone in the record books. Harvey Haddix had an unspectacular career. But on May 26, 1959, at Milwaukee's County Stadium, Haddix was perfect for 12 innings, retiring every batter he faced. The problem was, his own Pirates couldn't score.
It's one of those things, you just tried so hard and nothing worked out. And we knew what he was doing, and everybody knew it. Nobody said anything, but everybody knew it. And it's just one of those things, we just couldn't do anything to score. I think if he'd have done it 20 innings, we probably still wouldn't have scored for him.
Harvey Haddix made it look so easy. You know, 1, 2, 3, and the inning is over, and then Burdett go out there and get in trouble and get out of it. And first thing you look around, it's the 7th inning. We haven't had a base runner.
At the 7th inning, I think I went up to bat, and Del Prando was the catcher for the Braves, and he says to me, he says, Harvey says, you got a pretty good ball game going. And that's all he said. My guys on my team, the Pirates, would not say a word to me. They avoided me like I had the plague.
Haddix lost the perfect game in the 13th on a routine ground ball by Felix Mantilla.
The ground ball that I hit wasn't that tough of a chance for Donald Hoke, who was playing third base at that time. And I was surprised when that throw was pretty bad. It was a low throw and I reached.
At the point of Hope making the error, I don't think there was any great concern. It may even been kind of relaxing to get rid of it. Not that, you know, we wanted it to happen, but it's just the fact now we didn't have to worry about the perfect game.
After a sacrifice and an intentional walk, up stepped Joe Adcock.
Here's the pitch. There's a fly ball deep right center. That ball may be on through and over everything. It is gone. Home run. Absolutely fantastic.
In the base-running blunder that followed, Adcock passed Henry Aaron on the bases, and his home run was changed to a double. But the score was of no importance to Haddix. All he knew was that he lost.
Well, it's quite a letdown, I'll say that. But we were just out there trying to win the game, and as far as the no-hitter was concerned, I realized it, but I just wanted to win the game.
Lou Burdett was no match against Haddix's 12 innings of perfection, but he survived 12 Pirate hits to win the game 1-0.
I really felt bad for Harvey losing the ball game because it has been and probably always will be the greatest game ever pitched in the history of baseball. I called Harvey up in a visiting clubhouse after the game. And I said, Harvey, I really feel sorry for you. He said, thank you, Lou. And I said, you know, I thought you knew better than to bunch your hits. He only gave up one, you know.
But still a masterpiece of imperfection. For the first time in 33 years, the Pirates were in the World Series. But as the series moved to Game 7, it would take a miracle to beat the Yankees. In the 8th, the Pirates were down by 3 runs, but their fortunes started to turn when Bill Verdon sent this grounder to Tony Kubek.
Bill Verdon hit the ground ball. It took a bad hit, hit Tony Kubek in the throat, which would have taken us out of the inning, and we probably would not have won the game. The Yankees would have won the World Series.
But the Pirates kept the rally alive and pulled within 1 run. Then, with 2 outs and 2 on, Forbes Field was turned upside down by catcher Hal Smith.
And the 2-2 to Smith. He swings a long fly ball deep to left field. I don't know. It might go out of here. It is going, gone! Forbes Field is at this moment an outdoor insane asylum. We have seen and shared in one of baseball's great moments.
When I got to second base, it dawned on me what had happened. And then I started getting pretty thrilled. It was really great coming around third and going into home. Dick Grote and Roberto Clemente were on base, and they were there waiting for me and greeting me. I don't know how anything could be any more exciting to any athlete than that, because that's the top.
When we scored those 5 runs in the 8th inning, I think we thought we had it won, and we just went kind of crazy and feel like we just go through the motions, get them out, and we got this thing won, but it didn't happen that way. When I was standing out there second and they tied that ball game, I said, geez, here's those great Yankees. Finally sunk in. Here they are. They come back, they can do anything they want. They come back, they're going to beat us. I almost had a defeatist attitude when they tied the ball game. I was just happy to get out of that inning with the time. Maybe some miracle would happen in the 9th or something.
The Pirates did, of course, get a miracle. It came with a score tied in the bottom of the 9th when Ralph Terry threw to number 8 hitter Bill Mazeroski.
There's a swing and a high fly ball going deep to left. This may do it. Back to the wall goes Berra. It is over the fence, home run. The Pirates win.
when that bat cracked and I saw the angle of the ball, I hollered at the guys. I said, hey, it's out of here. It's over. I said, I've thrown them. I know that's gone. And I was the first guy at home plate. Do you know that I never did get to touch Mazeroski? Everything broke loose after that. It was a tremendous time.
For the first time in my life, I just lost composure and started jumping around like crazy and throwing my hat around. And I don't know, I just went a little crazy. And I never did show my emotions on a ball field before, but I had to that time.
For the first time in 35 years, the Pirates were world champs, and their hero was a second baseman who would be remembered not for his 7 gold gloves, but for one swing of the bat. The 1961 Yankees were in a pennant race, but that fact seemed far less important than the exploits of Mickey Mantle and Roger Maris, who were taking on Babe Ruth's single-season mark of 60 home runs, a record that had stood for 34 years. By July 1st, Mantle had 27 homers, Maris 28. And for the first time, sports writers began to take note of the M&M boys as they went ahead of Ruth's home run pace. But in the closing weeks of the season, Mantle had to drop out when he was sidelined with a leg injury. Maris was now on his own, and as he closed in on the Babe, he came up against detractors who insisted that if he caught Ruth, he must do so in 154 games. With that, the pressure became almost unbearable.
The thing that just really made it tough is that right up to game time, they felt that almost that I should be there for interviews. So I wasn't getting the proper warming up and everything or routine that I needed to go through to keep myself loose. And then, of course, after the ball game, it made it difficult because I sat there until the last writer filtered in and went out. There was no organized period of a half hour, an hour, an hour and a half. Hell, some days I was there 3-4 hours after a ball game, just sitting there with interviews, and it did get grueling. That really hurt.
Well, there was a time, I think it was in Baltimore, if I remember correctly, that Rogers had come in to talk to him and didn't want to play that night. You know, he was losing sleep. People were calling him. He had no privacy whatsoever. You hated for him not to play for fear this was a night he'd be able to hit it, because he was getting then within 1 or 2 of it. You didn't know whether it would do him more good to set a game out. I said, well, you know, why don't you start the game, and if you feel bad and want to get out, I'll get you out of there right away, which he agreed to do. But he wound up playing the whole ball game.
Good thing Maris did play that game because he came still closer.
There's one. It is going. It is going. It is gone. Number 59.
6 days later, this time facing the Orioles at Yankee Stadium, Maris caught Ruth.
2-0 Baltimore, 3rd inning. 2 outs, nobody on. There it is. There it is. If it stays fair, and it is number 60. A standing ovation for Roger Maris, who got number 60.
Maris's last chance came on the final day of the season, as 23,154 had just one thing on their minds.
And you got a handful of people sitting out in left field, but in right field, man, it is mobbed out there. And they're standing up. Here's the windup. Fastball hit deep to right. This could be it. Way back there. Holy cow, he did. What's the matter? And look at him fight for that ball out there. Holy cow, what a shot. Another standing ovation for Roger Maris. And they want Maris to come out and take another bow.
I was fortunate enough to hit the 61. I was just doing my job. It was all in line of duty, so I really didn't feel there was anything special that I should go jump out in the field and tip my hat and throw my hands up. And when I came in, of course, the people kept clapping and clapping. The guys trying to push me out of the dugout, and I was embarrassed to go out there. You know, here I am, all these people, you know, and it was really, I was embarrassed to go out there.
Henry Aaron's rookie season in 1954 produced a modest 13 home runs, but for the next 20 years he never hit fewer than 20, all the while building up to one of the great moments in baseball history, home run number 715.
Once I reached something like 650, I was way up in the 600. I thought that I had an outside chance, you know, if everything would fall in place. I thought that I had a real good chance of wrecking.
As Aaron got closer and closer to number 714, the press that followed him became bigger and more difficult to manage.
The last 2 years leading up to the home run was two of the toughest years I had in professional sport. I guess the thing that I hated the most was the fact that I didn't have the freedom of movement. You know, I had the freedom to go wherever I choose to go. You know.
In 1973, Aaron became the first active player to throw out the first ball at a World Series. He was a legend while still in the game. He had ended the season with 713 home runs and would have to wait till next year.
It really didn't bother me that whole year, that winter rather. Everywhere I went, of course, people were talking about it, but it didn't bother me at all. I just felt like eventually it was going to come.
3-1 pitch. There's a drive into left field. That ball is going, and out of here. Henry Aaron has just tied Babe Ruth in the all-time home run parade.
The Braves wanted Aaron to break the record at home and benched him in Cincinnati. But the next day, Bowie Kuhn ordered him to play.
I think the thing that bothered me most about all of that was the fact that under no circumstances did anyone approach me and ask me what I thought about it, you know, and I thought that was wrong.
I think in his heart and through the team and whatever, he felt like he owed it to the fans in Atlanta to try to break the record there.
So with Aaron back home in Atlanta and the record breaker imminent, plans were being made for the historic home run ball, whose value had risen as high as $60,000.
Everybody in the country wanted the ball. People in the stands that night had nets. They had fishing nets in the seats above the bullpen. And in the bullpen, how are we going to decide who gets the ball if it comes in the bullpen?
What they ended up doing was they gave us our real estate according to the seniority we had in the big leagues. Henry said before the game, he said, "I'll get it over tonight, gang. Be patient with me." I remember him saying, "Be patient with me. I'll get it over tonight."
Swinging. There's a drive into left center field. That ball is going to be out of here. It's gone. It's 7:15. There's a new home run champion of all time, and it's Henry Aaron.
For the record, the home run was hit at 9:07 p.m. The Dodgers' Al Downing threw it, Braves reliever Tom House caught it, and Henry Aaron finally did it.
It's like somebody had put a piano on my back, and after I hit the home run, it was all of a sudden was off of my back. You know, I was just like as light as a feather. It was just a great moment.
Game 6 of the 1975 World Series between Boston and Cincinnati was delayed for 3 days by rain. Finally, the skies cleared, but with ominous signs lurking, Fenway Park was never more full of the unexpected. The Red Sox had to win to stay alive, but Cesar Geronimo's eighth-inning homer seemed to spell the end. Then the Sox rallied in their half of the eighth. Bernie Carbo came off the bench with 2 outs, 2 on, and Cincinnati leading by 3 runs.
Deep center field, way back. We're tied up.
I remember I was flying around those bases. When I got to third base, I yelled at Pete Rose, and I says, "Pete, don't you wish you were this strong, Pete? Pete, don't you wish you were this strong?" And Pete looks at me and he says, "This is fun. This is fun. This is what it's all about."
In the 10th, the Red Sox loaded the bases but failed to score. And the next inning, they appeared to be finished when Joe Morgan hit this shot.
Well hit, right field, deep. Evans is going back near the wall, and oh, what a catch he made! What a catch by Dwight Evans, and it's a double play.
It was like a heavyweight fight. Everybody just staggered everybody else. One heavyweight knocked the other one down, the other one got up. Then it looked like for sure that it was over, and it was back and forth, back and forth.
The thriller was 4 hours old when Carlton Fisk led off the last of the 12th somewhere after midnight. Pat Darcy, the Reds' 8th pitcher of the game, delivered his second pitch. The Red Sox won it. Fisk was forever a hero, and the moment was one of the most dramatic in World Series history.
It's probably one of the most exciting ball games that I've ever played in, regardless of whether it's been a World Series or whether it's been a regular ball game, but even more so since it was a World Series. It was a crucial game for us and maybe a crucial game for baseball itself. I think we showed a lot of people how the game's supposed to be played.
It was the first time national television really ever caught the drama the way it came about. First time 70 million people ever saw the drama like that. And I think it had a profound effect on baseball, and it certainly had a profound effect upon the way baseball was covered by television from that point on.
Never forget going to the bus that night. Rose came up and tapped me on the shoulder. I was walking up. He said, "Wasn't that the greatest game you have ever been in?" I told him, "Peter Edwards, you are crazy." I said, "That game there you call the greatest game we've lost." And I said, "And I'm not going to sleep tonight." And you say that's the greatest game. He said, "Look, we'll win tomorrow. But that was the best game I've ever played in."
In the end, the '75 World Championship belonged to the Cincinnati Reds. But the 6th game and its momentous finish will play on and on. The Yankees and Dodgers met for the 1977 World Series. Reggie Jackson, en route to a .450 average that series, hit a home run in his last at-bat in Game 5. 2 days later, when the series moved back to New York for Game 6, the Yankees were 1 win away, and Reggie's bat was on fire.
I could say I remember when things started happening real well for me or going real good. In batting practice, I probably hit 15 to 20 balls in the stands and got a standing ovation. If it was something to come, I had a pretty good feeling.
There's a drive to right field and deep. Smith going back, away back. It's gone. Home run, Reggie Jackson.
Reggie's home run overturned LA's lead and put New York on top. The Yankees continued to rally and finished off the Dodgers in the 5th when Reggie exploded again. 2 home runs on 2 pitches and 1 final at-bat to come.
I had nothing to lose. Really, my last time up, I'd already had a standing ovation and things were in command as far as the World Series being won. And it was just whether I was going to hit another home run or not, really, what I was going to do my last time up.
Facing Charlie Huff, Reggie swung on the first pitch.
Jackson with 4 runs batted in. There's a fly ball to center field and deep. That's going to be way back, and that's going to be gone. Reggie Jackson hit his 3rd home run of the game.
3 home runs on 3 pitches. Only Babe Ruth had hit that many homers in 1 World Series game. As for Reggie's 5 homers in the series, that record stands alone. Baseball got its first look at Pete Rose in 1963 when he came up with the Reds and won Rookie of the Year. An aggressive, all-out player, Rose went on to attack the game's monumental records. In 1979, he joined the Phillies, and 2 years later toppled Stan Musial's record by becoming the National League's all-time hit leader. Rose sent other records falling too. And after a brief turn with the Expos, he went back to Cincinnati in hot pursuit of Ty Cobb. That year, 1985, at Wrigley Field, Rose caught him at last. But of course, Rose was not about to stop there.
Once I was fortunate enough to play myself in a contention of surpassing Ty Cobb, I owed it to myself and I owed it to the people who support me to go ahead and do it. I don't think anybody ever starts out playing this game in the big leagues thinking about getting 4,200 hits.
On September 11th, 1985, a packed Riverfront Stadium saw Rose finally pass Cobb.
2-1 pitch from Schaus into left center. There it is. Rose has eclipsed Cobb. That's number 4,192.
Making Pete Rose the most prolific hitter in baseball history.
You're standing in the middle of 52,000 people, no one around you to talk to, or you just have a tendency to, a lot of good things, good memories shoot through your mind. And what you really saw in the course of 8 minutes, I believe, was 3 generations of Pete Roses. 1, me getting a hit. 2, me thinking about my father. And 3, my son Pete coming out to congratulate me and then embracing me. So that's really what took place at first base after 41-92.
57 years after Ty Cobb left behind a seemingly unbreakable record, Pete Rose did him one better. As the 1986 World Series moved back to the Mets' home park, Shea Stadium, the Red Sox were on the brink of an upset. The lead went back and forth, and then all tied in the 10th inning, Dave Henderson, the hero of the playoffs, gave Rick Aguilera a jolt to lead off the inning.
And a drive to left. Going back on it is Mookie Wilson, and this one is gone. Henderson has done it again.
Henderson's homer put Boston up 4-3, but the Red Sox weren't through. They added another run and went into the bottom of the 10th with a 2-run lead. And their first world championship since 1918 was all but on ice.
I can remember, when there was 2 outs, I was thinking, God, this is going to be great. We're going to be jumping all over each other in a second,
They put up world champions, congratulations to world champions, Boston Red Sox, up on the board. And it flashed up for like a second. It just flashed up and we're all like, reality. It's like, this isn't going to happen.
What did happen was that Calvin Schiraldi started to come apart in his 3rd inning in relief of Roger Clemens and gave up a 2-out single to Gary Carter. With Met hopes barely flickering, Kevin Mitchell came off the bench to hit for Aguilera and delivered a single. The Mets were now down to one last strike. At the plate, Ray Knight.
And that's going to be hit into center field, base hit. Here comes Carter to score, and the tying run is at third in Kevin Mitchell.
That brought up Mookie Wilson to face new pitcher Bob Stanley. Again, the Mets were down to their final strike.
And it's going to go to the backstop. Here comes Mitchell to score the tying run, and Ray Knight is at second base.
At that point, a big relief is on me now. I can't lose. There's nothing I can do to lose anymore. When I came to the plate, we were losing, and now I'm still at the plate, and all of a sudden we're tied. I can't lose now, no matter what I do. So I just want to make contact.
Little roller up along first, behind the bag. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight, and the Mets win it.
It's kind of a frustrating feeling, but you learn to accept those things. You make mistakes, you make errors, and it was just a physical error. If it had been a mental error, I would have been a little harder to deal with. But I did my best.
Buckner's era gave New York the winning run.
Ball goes between Buckner's legs, and all of a sudden I'm a hero, and I didn't do anything.
An unforgettable finish that carried the Mets to a world championship. As pitching hero of the 1988 Dodgers, Oral Hershiser saved his best stuff for last. And when Dave Martinez of the Expos drove in this run on August 30th, it was the last run Hershiser would give up in the regular season. From then on, Hershiser did not allow an earned run. En route to the Cy Young Award in 23 wins, he shut out the Braves twice and blanked the Reds, the Astros, and the Giants. By late September, he was closing in on one of baseball's most coveted pitching records, Don Drysdale's 20-year-old mark of 58 consecutive scoreless innings. Just as Drysdale did during his streak, Hershiser had one close call. It came at Candlestick Park when the Giants rallied for a run, but interference was called at second base and the run was taken away. Hershiser's streak stayed intact. He pitched scoreless ball the rest of the way, and in beating the Giants brought his shutout string to 49. 5 days later in San Diego, Hershiser was 10 innings from the record.
Once I got into the 5th or 6th inning in San Diego, the momentum and the atmosphere and the enthusiasm of the crowd really started to build. It came to the point like there was a no-hitter being pitched and nobody wanted to leave their seat to go get a hot dog or something to drink. And so I just wanted to get to that point in the game. I thought that would be really exciting. And then to break it was unbelievable.
Amazing, too, was that the game went into extra innings, giving Hershiser a chance to do it.
Unbelievable to go extra innings and give him a chance. The 1-2 pitch. Fly ball to right on a semi-check swing. Gonzalez, the record. Oral Hershiser, 59 consecutive innings scoreless. The all-time record.
The 1988 World Series could not have found a more perfect setting for one of the most dramatic moments in series history. Game 1, of course, provided the drama. With the Los Angeles Dodgers down by a run in the last of the ninth, and their Hollywood hero, Kirk Gibson, out with a bum leg, they were all but finished.
Before the game, he told me he couldn't do anything. I was in the dugout planning on the bottom of the ninth inning, how I was going to work the bottom of the ninth inning. When the bat boy came down and told me that Gibson could hit, and I ran up there immediately to find out if it was true or not, and Gibby said, hey, I can hit for you.
You know, you have to change yourself to the given situation, and I had all game to think about it, and I really didn't think I was going to play, but knew that if the kind of situation came up that did, I could see myself doing the job. I had said to myself, even though, I knew I had physical disadvantages, that when I stepped out of the dugout, I knew the crowd would give me a favorable reaction, and I knew that would lift me.
Who's coming up?
The Dodgers were down to their final out, and Gibson was their last chance. As he stepped up to face the redoubtable Dennis Eckersley, all eyes were on home plate.
He'd come walking out there on the thing, and then you felt it. You felt like something was going to happen. And I think everybody felt it.
And with 2 out, you talk about a roll of the dice. This is it. Fouled away.
I was on the bench next to Scioscia. We watched him swing and take the field, and he took the first few cuts against Eckersley, and he just looked like a newborn deer. We're thinking, oh, this is a terrible decision. Tommy should never have him in there. He gets to 0-2. Davis steals second. Now we're just hoping for a blooper. Gibby can't swing the bat hardly at all. We're just hoping for a chink. Scioscia and I are saying, please, a bleeder, an error, anything.
Sachs waiting on deck, but the game right now is at the plate.
Unbelievable. You talk about excitement, you talk about drama, you talk about Hollywood script. They couldn't have written a finer script than that.
It's a moment that I certainly will never forget, or nobody will ever forget, and I thank the Big Dodger in the sky for choosing me to be the guy to be able to celebrate that moment for the rest of my life.
That moment carried the Dodgers to an improbable World Series championship. The golden arm of Nolan Ryan has made him a sure Hall of Famer and a legend while still in the game. But in the late 60s, when Ryan came up with the Mets, success was a long way away. His fastball was plenty explosive, but he had trouble controlling it. And in 1972, Ryan was sent to the Angels. Though he still lacked control, he became even more overpowering. He struck out 300 or more batters 5 of the next 6 seasons, and in 1973 threw 2 no-hitters. This just added to the Nolan Ryan folklore back in Alvin, Texas.
The most notable game I can recall in pitching was a no-hitter that he pitched against the Brenham Cubs, which was the powerhouse in our area. They were picked to win the state championship. We played them. He beat them on a one-hitter. One day, 4 days later, he came back and beat them on a no-hitter. And they were a good ball club. They had 4 players who actually went to the professional ranks.
As it turned out, Ryan's no-hit express was just beginning. In his last outing of 1974, he capped off his second straight 20-win season by no-hitting the Minnesota Twins. Barely 9 months after no-hitter number 3, Ryan collected number 4, matching the great Dodger left-hander Sandy Koufax as the only pitchers to throw 4 no-hitters. Then, in 1981, in Ryan's second season with the Astros, he did Koufax one better.
2 balls and no strikes to Baker, and a ground ball to third. He has got it, Art Howe. He got it. Nolan Ryan, no-hitter number 5. The first man ever to pitch 5 career no-hitters.
The right arm of Nolan Ryan may be one of the world's great wonders, but as Ryan knows only too well, the secret of his phenomenal success does not rest with his arm alone.
No doubt your legs play a big role in pitching, and if you have a leg problem, then just, well, you have an arm problem because you can't pitch without your legs being strong.
In 1989, Ryan returned to Texas, this time to the Rangers, and a year later gave the Oakland A's a taste of his still overpowering stuff. In the midst of a milestone season in which he would collect his 300th win, Ryan passed Cy Young and became the oldest pitcher ever to throw a no-hitter, and he did it at the age of 43.
A 2-0 pitch. Fly ball, right field. Ruben Sierra in foul territory. Number 6 for Nolan Ryan. The Express has done it once again.
These memories are the true prize of baseball, the game's masterpieces that play on long after the fact, forever etched in the minds of those who lived them and those who saw them. This is just the beginning. As the game continues, these 20 moments will undoubtedly grow to hundreds, for the game in its truest form is but a string of moments that stretches across time.